Alan Combs steps off a bus from downtown and out into a cold winter's night awash with stinging flurries of snow. Waiting for him amongst the others at the bus stop is a young boy, maybe 12 or so, with sandy hair, a slight frame, and a narrow freckled face. "Hi, Dad," the boy says to Alan. "I came to meet you. Surprised?" "Yeah," he is. Without realizing that he's done so, Alan takes a slow step back, because he does not know or even recognize the boy. After telling him that he is mistaken, Alan turns to leave, but the young boy, who has said his name is Jerry, reaches out and touches Alan's arm. Even through the fabric of his coat, Alan finds Jerry's touch to be repugnant. This is how Barbara Owens' unsettling short story, The New Man, begins. First published in the March 1982 issue of Twilight Zone Magazine, The New Man was also adapted for the direct-to-syndication anthology series Tales from the Darkside. It was the first episode of the first season, in fact, if you don't count the pilot, Trick or Treat, as the first episode, that is. Alan returns home to find his wife, Sharon, and his son, his real son, Pete, just as he knows and remembers them to be. Until the kid who calls himself Jerry rings the doorbell and Sharon lets him in and chastises Alan for locking the boy outside. "Look at him, he's freezing! What made you do such a cruel thing, Alan?" Sharon and Pete know Jerry and treat him as if he were family. But Alan knows that kid is not part of the family. He never has been, and he never will be. Sharon and Pete both suspect that Alan might have started to drink again. But Alan knows he's sober, has been sober, for a year. He also knows that they do not have a child named Jerry. So why is Alan's den Jerry's bedroom? Determined to seek out the truth, to show everybody that this Jerry kid isn't their kid, isn't Pete's brother, it's not real. It's not real. Alan starts spiraling as he investigates. He gets angrier, more distant, more abusive. And all the while, Jerry hovers and watches, occasionally touching Alan while they're sitting on the couch, sitting next to him, and always Alan is repelled. And Jerry watches, eyes gleaming, and he smiles. And smiles, and smiles, and smiles. Now, the short story is told in the first person by Alan, so a reader must take everything he's telling them with and claims to be experiencing with a certain wariness, as he could be and is an unreliable narrator. As much as he claims to be a new man, hence the title, his fast slip into the aggressive and accusatory behavior of a practicing alcoholic is pretty darn close. Or I should say, pretty darn fast. The episode, which starred Vic Tayback as Alan and Chris Herbert as Jerry, he was pretty darn close to his source material. There is a lot of dialogue in it that is verbatim from the story, but there are also some major differences. Gone is the bus stop and the exteriors. The episode takes place entirely interior, either at Alan's workplace or in the Combs family home. And a scene where Alan visits his ailing and dementia-suffering mother is excised, and truth be told, not necessary for the episode as the story is structured. what Jerry is, or what is he supposed to represent in both versions of this yarn, are left up to the reader or viewer to interpret. Jerry can very well be the implacable embodiment of addiction itself, or he could also be the embodiment of unaddressed or unresolved psychological or emotional trauma. Either way, he's there. And because the story is told entirely from Alan's point of view, the short story, the ending and its meaning vary greatly from the television episode. Because in the short story, Alan is the observer and narrator until the very last line. But that is not the case with the episode, which alters and restructures the ending to create a kind of circular bookend, which adds another potential layer to the meaning of this story, in that, was Alan in purgatory before being consigned to either heaven or hell? Because the way the story's structured, it could read that way. I really don't have any idea, though. I kind of lost track of my notes there, but I can tell you that from my own life experience, having lived with an alcoholic who drank herself to death, this short story and its episode adaptation made my heart ache, and even as it also made the slightest chill run up my spine. So even knowing many people won't react to it with the kind of emotional and psychological baggage that I've got, I give it a recommendation. And until next time, try to enjoy the daylight.